Hello everybody, Joe from NDB Aviation. Today, I'm going to run you through setting up X-Plane 12 on a laptop. Now, to be specific, we're going to be using a MacBook Pro 13-inch M1 chip laptop. Now, that's not a lot of power to run any flight simulator, but I've had people reach out to me, what's the minimum I can get away with running X-Plane? And I'm going to show you today. Now, visually wise, graphics wise, be ready to be unimpressed because visually this is not going to be that great of a show. This is the highest resolution you're going to see the entire video here. So I just want to warn you all before we get into the simulator. I'm going to show you some very basic ways to get started and get running, and a few things that I struggle with if I'm not using a joystick or yoke and everything else. So if you are somebody that's just starting out with X-Plane 12 and all you have is a laptop and a mouse, please do not try this with just a mouse pad. You are going to be very frustrated. Get an external mouse, hook it up via dongle or kit, whatever you have or whatever you need, and make sure it has a scroll wheel because you're going to see why very shortly. So with all that disclaimer being said, let's go ahead and end this portion of the video and let's jump right into the sim now. Okay, so everybody, here we are in X-Plane 12. This is up and running on the MacBook Pro with the M1 chip. I want to start off with first, let's just do one thing out of the way before we even get into the simulator itself. Let's go into settings and let's talk about some settings that you're going to want to look at as a user. So in the settings, we have our general sound, graphics, network, data output, joystick, keyboard, VR hardware. As you can imagine, there are some things we're not going to even touch here. There are a few things you can do to speed up your overall sim experience and a few things you can do to make things easier. So in here, you can increase this to make the flight model work a little bit faster. So it's one of those things you can play with. I am going to leave it at the default for now. And then if you want to play with this later yourself, you can do that. You can show the clickable areas in the cockpit, show instrument instructions in the cockpit. This could be annoying for people that are advanced users or somebody that knows how to fly an aircraft. Simulate blackout, redout, hypoxia effects. We're going to actually turn this off because I might show you a few other things while we're in the sim here. Disable downwind ILSs. Yeah, I'm going to turn that off. And we're going to turn off the taxi routes. I'm not going to bother with all that right now. I don't want anything else to slow down the simulator. Damage we're going to keep off. And then, let's see, ask me when to restart the flight. Just ask me when to. That makes the life a lot easier. Kiosk mode is really cool. This is something we can talk about later on, and we will in a different video. You can send your data out to Laminar if you have crashes and such. Sound-wise, I have the sound all the way down, so that way you can hear me better. You can change a few things over here. Graphics. This one's important. I am running with some very medium settings here, and if we have some time in this video, I'll show a few of how these actually change things out. You can change your font size, user interface size, visual offsets, everything else is in here that you might need to play with. One thing to keep in mind, lateral and vertical field of view are pretty important, but be careful playing with these because you can definitely set things up to the point that you're not going to be happy with what you see outside. And then network, we don't really need that right now. However, if you are networking multiple devices together and say your MacBook M1 or your laptop is really going to be a secondary machine, say for an instructor panel or a kiosk mode, this is where you can start setting things up. Data output, I like to keep the frame rate going. So show in cockpit, I click that on, and it's going to come up over here when we're in the actual flight simulator. Joystick, we have no joystick, so skip. Now, here is the keyboard. This is where you're going to find everything. You can find your essentials, currently assigned. You just click these plus signs over, and you'll be able to jump in and see what you have. Plug-in overrides. This could be something, or plug-in provided. These are other things that could be very useful later on down the road, but we're not going to get that deep. There are a few things that I did change in here. So currently assigned, I went in and for engines, for throttle, I changed the throttle up and throttle down to the up and down arrows. Now, given these are zoom in, zoom out, this is why you want a mouse with a mouse wheel on it, because the zoom in, zoom out function can be utilized default on the scroll wheel of the mouse. And if you're using a laptop that is smaller, This is important because this is the most usable function for the throttle. Otherwise, you're going to be doing double key commands, so saying shift and another button, just to make it work. Because there are a lot of things already set here. I truly recommend to anybody out there, use the up-down arrow for the throttle up and throttle down. So with that being said, you can play around in here and change anything you want. It's not difficult. For the flight controls, let me just do the engines now so you can just see what it looks like. So for throttles, throttle down a bit. I can just click here and just press the button you intend to use. So down. There it is. That's all you have to do. If you want to set up different profiles, reset the key bindings, all that's down here. Do not be afraid to play with this. This is super easy. You can always just play around and then save as a new profile, and your life will be easy. You're not messing things up. And then you can always reset the default if you went, oh my goodness, I messed this up. I can't figure out what I did wrong. Just go back to default and start from scratch. I know that might sound annoying, but the more you play around with this, the better you're going to be at setting up your sim, especially after they do updates. So that's the keyboard in a nutshell. Help, I'm in a nutshell. Help me out. But here we go. That's all of the basic settings for now. So let's click done. We're not doing flight school. We're not loading the save flight. We're not even going to resume my previous flight. New flight. We are going to be in Dubuque, Iowa. There's a reason why, and I'm going to explain when we're in the sim, but as you can imagine, there are going to be a lot fewer objects, roads, and other things for the simulator to render and draw, making the simulator run slightly faster. So keep that in mind. Weather-wise, customizing here. I am going for a clear day. No precipitation. Temperatures 55 degrees. Standard altimeter setting of 2992. Dry runways, everything. This is going to be to allow the overall simulator run as smooth as possible. There's less work for it to do. Time of day, you can set this to whatever you want, really. Just leave it wherever, just whatever you like. Aircraft, we are going to use the Cirrus SR-22. I kind of like this color scheme. It looks decent on a low-res screen. And overall, it works out pretty good. So we have everything set up the way I want it. Let's go ahead and start the flight. Now, while this is loading, let's talk. There are a lot of laptops out there. There are a lot of laptops that will run X-Plane 12 enormously better and faster than this laptop will. If you're Apple and you're watching this and you would like me to review or at least set up and show what a newer laptop can do, I'll be happy to take a loaner and show what it can do. And if you are any other manufacturer out there, I'll be happy to do the same for anybody out there to show which laptops can run X-Plane or Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. Here we are. Now, you're going to notice a few things here that I already have opened up from my previous sim. Some of these stick around, which is great. But first, let's go up here, and you're going to see my frame rates right here. When I am not doing a screen record, I am averaging somewhere between 35 and 42 in Dubuque, Iowa. Now, if I go to LaGuardia, Newark, Chicago, go out to SFO, Seattle, any of these other airports, or Hong Kong, something big, it's going to give you different frames per second on such a small laptop. So think about it this way. The more rendering or the more drawing the simulator has to do and utilize the CPU and the graphics card, the GPU, the lower this is going to get. And the more you're going to have to change over here. See the sliders? Graphics. The more you're going to have to drop these down. So let's just go texture quality to minimal. And let's bring rendering distance to low. And let's hit done and see what that does. So let's just do a demo here of what changing a few sliders can do. It's thinking, loading, and really not a whole lot. So we are really pushing this M1 chip as hard as we can almost at this point. Now we could push it harder, but the sim would not be very usable. But as you can see, the runway looks terrible. So let's go back in here and let's do a little quick case study. I'm going to show you maximum. Let's leave rendering distance here because rendering distance can do a lot to your sim experience. And let's just do texture quality max. Right now, it's redrawing everything. And you can see we lost, basically, let's give it a second longer here to stabilize. We lost about 1 to maybe 3 frames per second. And it's going to be more noticeable once we actually get rolling. All right, so that being done, we played with the overall visual acuity here. And now we're in the sim. The next thing we want to talk about is this box here. If you have a mouse and you right click on this, you can drag this little box around. What does this box do? Old X-Plane users know what this does. I'm going to go to the external of the aircraft. Now I'm going to shut this little G1000 piece down. And we're going to zoom in here using my scroll wheel. And I know it's hard to see this box, but let's try to find somewhere where it'll be easier to see it. Maybe if I change the sky colors it'll be easier, but I want a daylight day for us to use. This box is your control box. Right now, ailerons, rudders are linked. So it's easy controls. You cannot separate this out with the mouse for a specific reason. If you have no way to control the rudders, you will have no way to fully control your aircraft, and especially in a propeller aircraft, you need rudder control for P factor, for yaw control. So this is important to think about and have. But as you can see, we can do a full box check of the controls with just the mouse. This is how you are going to fly if all you have is your laptop and a mouse, this piece here. So remember, right click it to move it around to an area that you can keep finding and utilize. I like it slightly up and above because once we go back in the cockpit, Shift 9, Shift 1 starts the external reviews. I'm running through, so let me just say it out loud. Shift 1, Shift 2, Shift 3, Shift 4, Shift 5, Shift 6, Shift 7. That's the old 2D cockpit and there's nothing there. Shift 8, Shift 9. So we're back in the 3D cockpit. I like this somewhere up here because it's easier to get to. I'm just going to leave that there. So now we can get into the cockpit. Click to let go of your pointer. So you just remember to click to let go and the box will change to a dimmer setting. But go back to center, click it, left click to control in here and get out. And you'll know you're out because the stick or the yoke won't be moving around. This is a stick in the Cirrus, yoke in other aircraft. Use your scroll wheel and we can zoom in here. And we can change our view. Now you can change these views, your default view, by coming back into here and scrolling down. Change lateral field of view and vertical field of view. This is up to you to play with on your own. I'm not going to recommend anything. This is a personal preference. So I'm going to hit done. We're going to go back out and I'm going to remind you, these all pop out and are 100% workable. You can do everything you need on these and they work as close to the real thing in the real world as Laminar has built into the functionality that they have currently. Personally, I like popping this one out because it gives me a lot of information. And what you can do is, if you hit it just right, let's get it out of that area, you can drag it with the hand here and make it larger or smaller, which is really important to me because if you want SA and you're flying around and you want to be zoomed out, so you want better field of view, but you don't want to be squinting down to see everything, you can do this and drag it down here. And now if you right click to look around your 3D cockpit, it stays with you. So you have SA the entire time. So this is one of the other little tricks I like to utilize when using X-Plane with just a mouse and keyboard. Now all that's done, we have everything set up. We're just going to do a quick takeoff and then a power off landing after we've climbed up and done a little bit of talking here. So to get the parking brake off, hit B for brake, bravo for brake. Brakes off, and we're going to power up using the up key. I'm going to get my mouse up here, and I'm going to have to use right aileron combined with right rudder, which is not the way we want to do it in real life, but the way we have to do it because that's all we have here in the simulator currently. You can see our speed tape is increasing. I have no flaps out. And we're going to get airborne here. I'm going to do Shift 8 for our chase view. And look, our G1000 stays with us. I'm going to left click to get out of the control box. Now I can move my mouse around. If I want to look around and take a look at lovely Dubuque, Iowa. Look, it doesn't look bad. And that's what I remember flying the regional jet in and out of there. It's close enough. And we can climb on out. Now it's starting to roll a little bit to the left. Let's get back in the control box. I want to get some more altitude, but I want to stay right on top of the airport. Now, because you might be somebody utilizing this for training purposes, or just for fun, I don't know. Say you want to get back to the airport real quick, and you don't know how. I'm going to click to get out of here. Now I'm going to hit P for pause, Papa. There is one easy function to get your airplane anywhere you need to go. Oh, and look at here. We're outside the cockpit, so there's less rendering to do, less objects out here. It's all the default cut and paste, globby scenery. Our frames per second is up to 55. That's because we're in the middle of nowhere, America. Oh, sorry Dubuque, and everybody lives in Dubuque. You're not the middle of nowhere. I actually do enjoy your city. But looking out right now, it looks like the middle of nowhere, America. But to get yourself back and forth to, say, the airport or somewhere else you want to be, or say you want to set yourself up on a downwind or an ILS, whatever, hit Mic, M for map. And here's your map function. This is baked into every X-Plane software that's ever been out, or for the most part that's ever been out. And you can see where you are. Now you can use VFR sectional, the IFR and route choices here. You can bring in NextRad, clouds. I'm going to hit nothing. I don't want to see the winds. Compass rose, I like. Now it's funny. The compass rose that you're seeing here is the VOR at Dubuque. You can put on your aircraft compass rose and you can utilize this for, say, moving somebody around. So if you need to vector somebody around and say you're using your MacBook as a instructor kiosk or as the external for setting somebody up and you're the instructor and you have a flight school, so on and so forth, you're utilizing it for that purpose. This makes vectoring somebody super easy to get them onto an ILS or onto a star or back onto a SID. This is a great tool. The instructor setup, though, we're going to talk about in a completely separate video. And then the airplane itself. So let's scroll in. And let's drag the airplane. So click on your aircraft. Here are some more advanced features. They're not that difficult to utilize, but there are sliders. You can type in numbers here, whatever you want. I don't need to know what the aircraft is. I'm going to drag it way far away. Let's go over the city, or wherever the city might be. I can't remember. Oh, there it is. I like the city. I had a lot of fun there. But here we are. Let's unpause. Get rid of the map. You can close the map with either the red button or by pressing Mic or M for map. Goodbye. Let's hit pop off for pause. Get back in the aircraft here. And here we are flying over the city. And let's say, oh man, I forgot how to get back to the airport. I'm totally lost. Well, first, left click to get out of the control box. Now I'm not making the airplane fly around. Hit M for map. And you get P for pause. And if the airport's further away, just scroll out and you can find it again. Find your aircraft. Here we are. And let's say I want to be up at 5,000 feet. And I want to be a speed of, now let's say we're going to set a student up for a stall. Let's put the aircraft in a stall position, 30 knots. And the aircraft pitch is higher. Let's say 20 degrees nose up. No, it won't let us do that. We'll see. I don't know why, but we're set up for at least a stall. And let's close this. Let's stall right on top of the airport. Close the map. Hit P for pause. All right, student, recover. Nose down. Push, roll, thrust, stabilize. Do an upset, recovery. Try not to overspeed the aircraft. And what we're going to do now is we're going to pull the power back. And we're going to hit the pause button one more time. Hit M for map. And let's do one other thing here with the map here that is really nice. Makes life super easy. Let's do final approach. And once you start a new flight, so that's not a bad thing, don't worry. Start a new flight. And it's going to load us right on the final, which is great for training purposes for a multitude of reasons. If you're an instructor or if you're a student, you're trying to learn, this is going to be great. Ooh. That might not be so great, though. Let's see what it does when we unpause. All right, we have some power. For a second there, I thought we'd have no power. And we're on a final approach coming into Dubuque. But this isn't what I really, really wanted. Let's do something a little bit more fun. Let's hit the X, get rid of that. Let's get the airplane. Drag it on top of the airport. This is more fun, come on. And let's just go ahead and pull the power back and see how well I can pull off a dead stick. That way you can see how much control you actually have with this mouse. Now remember, try to respect the actual laws of physics here. Oh man, this is too easy. I set myself up too nicely. Let's do a series of S turns. Let's get the flaps out. Next time I'll do something a little bit more difficult, but I'm not going to redo this landing. At least for the purposes of this video, I think everybody's probably tired of seeing the graphics as bad as these are. Let's get the brake on. And there we are. You can control your aircraft this way in X-Plane 12. And it will work. It's just not the best way to do it. So for anybody who's been wondering, how do I play or utilize X-Plane 12 for simulation purposes or for training purposes with just a laptop and a mouse, this is it. Thank you all for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. Good luck. And see you again soon. Bye-bye.